Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here. And if you are a first time listener, welcome. My name is Angie. I am an above knee amputee, and I have been for just over 3 years. And I love to get on and talk. I tell everybody this is kind of my therapy. I feel like sometimes I'm just talking actually to myself, and it helps me kind of sort out some things that I might be struggling with in my personal journey. Today, I thought would be fun to kind of get to know what it's like on a day-to-day basis for someone like me. I yesterday had an interview with a student from Texas A&M, a biomechanical engineer student, I believe, going for her master's. And it was kind of eye-opening because you get used to the life you're living. You don't even think about some of the things that you go through 3 years out. Yet when someone is curious, they're trying to learn a little bit more about your situation, you realize that some of the things that you are used to every day are totally foreign to the general population. And it just started getting me to think that this might be a great time to kind of delve into a little bit of that so you can get a glimpse into my day-to-day routine, but also as a segue into an exciting month I have coming. Some of you may not know this, some of you do. Next month, the month of April, is Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. And last year, I had just been, maybe 2 months into my podcast when this arrived, and I ended up doing my first interviews during Limb Loss Awareness Month last year. And it was a little nerve-wracking, keeping the flow going and everything. I wasn't sure what my skill sets were when it comes to interviewing people, but it ended up being a blast. And what I did last year, and if you haven't heard, you should go back and listen. I kind of interviewed the people in the process along my journey to amputation. So my PT, who helped rehab me through all my knee surgeries, and then physically and mentally prepared me for amputation by working on my good knee and getting it prepped for dealing with all the problems that it might arise during all the weight bearing. And then into my surgeon who did the amputation, to my prosthetist and his assistant, who is also an amputee, to the PT that I had to go to, because you have to go to a special PT for amputation because their offices are set up differently. You need parallel bars, you need a bunch of different types of equipment than a normal PT would. And then finally, I had plenty of space, so I added in a couple people. The person who actually started it off this would have been this week, was a good friend now of mine, Mike Coots, who is a shark attack survivor off Kauai, and I actually got to meet him when my family traveled there, and we've been talking, and he is now a shark advocate, and it was awesome getting to know Mike and his journey, because it's very different from mine. His was a scary moment, tragedy, not expected. Mine was a planned amputation. And so it was good to get a different perspective on the mental game and the preparation and lack of preparation and how you deal with the after effect. And then my final one went into the surgeon that did my TMR surgery. 2 years after amputation, I got a neuroma and I had nerve problems. And so he went in and fixed some nerves. So it was really kind of cool because I got the whole professional side of it, minus Mike, who was more of a comparison of the journeys that he and I took. Next month, I'm excited to say that I'm back to doing some interviews. I really wanted to get some really awesome people on, and I'm so excited. You have to listen. The next few weeks we have, I thought I would go into what amputees are capable of doing, seeing success stories and where you are capable of going if your mindset's right, and just kind of delving into their headspace a little bit. But I do have my assistant prosthetist is coming on because his journey is very different from mine. Even though we're both above knee amputees, he lost his leg early in life, and he was the one that gave me the confidence to know I would be able to do whatever I wanted to after amputation because he plays basketball and everything. So he was an integral part of me taming my fears prior to surgery. And I have a few para-Olympians who just competed in the Beijing Paralympics, the Winter Olympics, and one that's done both Olympics, Paralympians, Olympics, summer and winter. Can't wait for you to meet her. And also someone who has been a trainer for the MLB and is now working with NFL players. So I'm so excited for you to hear their journeys. All of them have limb difference or limb loss. And I hope you stay tuned. Each week of April, I have someone coming on to talk with me. So be looking for that. I think it's going to be exciting times. Now, with it being Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month coming up starting next week, or actually Friday is April 1st, April Fool's Day. Be careful. You never know who might be playing a trick on you. Amputees, this is a great opportunity for you to really kind of stoke the fire of April Fool's Day with missing a limb. So have fun with it. I always say, you know what, you laugh or you cry. I choose to laugh. I choose to make fun and light of the situation because it helps me cope and deal. But it was really interesting. Like I said, I had this interview yesterday and it was kind of an eye-opener because the things I've taken for granted, people are mystified by. And I thought, okay. So I thought, I'm not going to delve too deep. I just want to give you kind of a layer. And I think actually the best way to go about digging deeper is actually to have some videos up of what it's like. Some of the things, it's just really hard to explain. But I'm going to take you through it, especially since I just recently moved. And it may not seem like a big deal to you guys, but moving as an amputee not only was exhaustive, I had to start changing my routine up for what I was used to doing in my house, in my shower, in my closet to get ready for a day or get ready for going to bed. Everything was turned upside down. And you have no idea what that does to a routine when you finally get a routine. So to start off the day, you have to understand first one thing. One, I'm an above knee amputee. What that means is I do not have a knee joint or an ankle joint. My socket starts right above an electronic knee joint, and it pretty much rides all the way up to my hip. So a hard socket with a soft pliable inner liner. There are many different types of sockets out there, and you don't start right away where I'm at. So my very first socket was a liner socket with a Velcro strap. And basically they take your socket, the hard casing, cut a slit in the front so that the liner you're wearing with this long Velcro strap, really long, can go down through the hole. You pull your leg down through and into the socket, and you Velcro up the front of your socket so that it's in place and it's not moving. Vitally important because it was almost like a seatbelt, so to speak, and mentally made me realize my socket wasn't going to fall off. Because I don't know what it is about the first time you get a socket, you think, how could it possibly stay on? Because there's nothing grabbing it, like your leg is attached. Well, my leg's not. So how does it stay on? So that was like the safety belt. And when that was on, I couldn't even fathom not having it. Then the next phase was getting rid of this safety belt and using a type of socket that has these rings at the bottom. And when you kind of spritz a little bit of rubbing alcohol and water down in there, you slide your leg in, and then those rings kind of act as a kind of a catch. And they're plastic, and they stick on the inside of the plastic. And you can move it or change it by the one-way valve at the bottom of my socket. But because I'm so active and I wanted to really live my life, my prosthetist told me his goal with me from day one was that I would eventually get to a skin fit socket. And that's where I'm at right now. Basically, what that means is I don't have any more liners. It's just my leg inside the socket. And the socket is comprised of two parts. It's comprised of a hard shell on the outside, and that's the one I decorate and looks all pretty, and I've got my horses on it, and I got my whales on it, and I went to an auto body paint shop and got I like that chameleon paint for cars that goes blue-greens and even goes into almost a deep purple depending on how the light hits. It's pretty cool. And then I use my Cricut machine to make whatever designs and decals I want, and my prosthetist paints it, puts the decals on, seals it, and it looks beautiful. I love it. He's an artist in his own right. The internal liner of that socket is a soft pliable plastic. It's heavy duty, but it's pliable. So I can move it a little bit, and it does hang over the edge at the top of my leg, up by my hip, so that I don't put my hip bone into a hard shell. I have it into something that's more pliable and gives a little bit. My leg actually goes straight in. But how it goes in, this is the hard part. That's why I said I can give you a little bit of a glimpse into this, but really I need a video. And I do have one. I just have neglected to post it. I don't know what my problem is. But I have a very long bag, kind of made of a ripstop material, kind of like a windbreaker material. And you have to fold it inside of itself so it becomes like a long cup of 2-ply. And at the very bottom, there's like a pull lever. And what I do is I take my one-way valve and unscrew it off my socket. I push the sock inside itself, so it's now like about this big versus double the size, and I can put my leg down in it. So I pull my leg into it, and I have this little strand that sticks down at the bottom. It's called the pole, and I put that through the hole of my valve. Stand up, and I push my leg down inside as far as I can go with the bag on. And I pull that string through, or that pull strap through, and then I start going. It's really weird because I have to stand, I have to kind of put pressure down, but I also have to kind of pull up while I'm pulling with my arms down. It's really hard. It's like standing and using gravity, but yet having to pull my leg up while my arms are going down. It's exhausting. And when it sticks, it's an upper body workout. I get so tired. My hands get really sore, but I pull, and I'm pulling the bag out while I'm pulling my leg down inside. I'm pulling the skin down inside my socket until the bag fully comes out. My leg is down in, and I carefully put my valve back on. And then I kind of step into it and get any last minute air out. Because it's a one-way valve, air pushes out, it does not suck back in. And there you go, my leg is on. I do that every morning. Now, what people may not realize is, and I even struggled with this at first, even at the beginning of this year, to get out and get my son ready for school that day, I would just grab my crutches and crutch out to see him, get his lunch made, get him ready to go, see him off, and then I'd go back and I'd kind of mull around, get to my bedroom, figure out what I was going to wear for the day, go to put my socket on. Well, by that time, I had been standing for like maybe half an hour, and gravity took effect, and fluids would start to kind of pool at the bottom of my residual limb because with gravity, and pumping blood as I'm moving and doing stuff. When that happens, my leg doesn't fit well. And that's tragic because then it doesn't fit well. That means that when I put it on, it gets put on kind of funny. That can cause chafing. It can cause pinching and burning. It can cause blisters to form. I mean, there is a plethora of problems that could arise when you don't put your own socket on correctly, especially skin fit. If you wear a liner, you just kind of put the liner on and your skin is protected. If you get any sores, it's because the way the liner is just rubbing. Because like here in Arizona, when it gets really hot and I go hiking, I remember my liner getting really wet from all the sweating. Now, with my skin being in, like there's days I've taken my leg off at the end of the day and there are massive folds of my skin that are creased and red. And where the valve is, if my leg gets pulled really far through, I can actually pinch a ring of blisters around the valve. I've done that recently. That is painful, and you just hope the blisters don't pop. So skin fit is not for everybody, and it is quite a journey every morning to get that on and get it on right, making sure your leg doesn't get folded funny or pinched in certain ways. I hate taking it off and doing it again. I've done that. I try not to, so I try to do it right the very first time. So I do that every morning, and if I don't do it right away, like I said, then I don't fit well. And then I don't like to take it off, so then I walk around it and it kind of hurting at first, and then my body gets used to it. The problem is by the end of the day, I notice like it's like putting on a brand new pair of shoes, and you're fine at first, but then you realize by the end of the day you've worn a blister. That's me. So I try to stay away from doing that. I now get up just a little bit earlier, and I make sure no matter what, whether I'm still in my pajamas or I've changed my clothes quick, my leg goes on before I go out to the kitchen to be with my son. So that has helped immensely at keeping the swelling down, because at night, gravity doesn't have to work. It's kind of any swelling that happened through the day has now settled, and my leg's ready to go back in. So that's the morning routine every morning. And it's like I said, it's quite a journey. I will have to get that video out so you can see what it's like putting it on my socket. I have to say that there probably isn't a day that goes by while I'm putting that on that I'm not sitting there going, what's this going to be like when I'm like 70 or 80? Because it takes a lot of muscle and a lot of, like I feel like a contortionist. My right hip and right leg have to really stabilize everything I'm doing. So sometimes by the time I'm done, my right hip is really sore. You'd think it would takes me half an hour, but it doesn't take long. But 5 minutes or a couple minutes of trying to get that in and doing it right and doing it slow enough so it goes in right really puts a lot of pressure on my good hip and my good knee. And so I'm trying to balance and do all that. Now, the rest of the day is pretty much easy going. Like, it is what it is. So if I put it on correctly and I'm feeling great and it's a great fit, we're off and running. I don't think about it. If you listen to any of my other podcasts, you'll know that I use distraction for anything and everything. I try not to think of my situation. I try to think of others. I try to keep myself busy. I do other things. I'm constantly on the go. I don't sit still. Probably a reason why podcast works for me. One, because I get to talk through my own problems, and it hopefully helps somebody else, but it always helps me. So, and being a teacher in the past, it's easy for me to talk. I can talk forever. So I always have to look to make sure I'm not overdoing my time frame, so that those of you that actually listen to this actually want to stay to the end. So my apologies for the longer ones. Sometimes I could just keep talking and it doesn't even matter. But going through the day, there are times that I have, as I was telling this young lady yesterday, there's very rarely a time, I guess maybe a fortunate one, I don't think about it, or it's really not that big of a problem for me, but sweating is a real issue. I hear people talking about it all the time. They say their socket doesn't stay on, they can't stop sweating. What do people do? You got to understand, I live in an environment that, 8 months of the year, it's 100, and so 100 plus. And so, I would think that if anything, I would have a sweating issue. And yes, I do sweat in mine. I'm not sure what people are talking about that have liners that sweat, because there's not a lot of us skin fits. But those that have liners and are sweating, I don't know if their liners are not staying on or what, but I can tell you from my experience that there was a time right after I'd become a skin fit that, I love hiking. So I get out and hike, and sometimes I don't pick the best times of day. Sometimes it's like 10:30, 11, and you're finishing at noon. In Arizona, that's hot. I do remember one time coming down a mountain and telling my husband, we better get back, because I don't know how much longer I have. I think my it's going to slip off. And so, going up, it's not a problem because you're pushing into your socket, but going down, gravity wants to pull it off. So every step I'm stepping to go down, I was worried that my socket was going to fall off. True. I got back to the car and I said, you've got to see this. And I put my back against the car and I grabbed my leg and I just pulled it straight off. There was no stick. There was no nothing. And there was sweat pooled in the bottom of my socket. Gross, I know. It's not what girls usually talk about, but it is the true story. And so that was the only time I remember really struggling, and I just wanted to get down safely. I did not want to be on a mountainside without a leg. So what I do is I make sure that I go very prepared when I hike. Like, I don't hike empty-handed. Yes, I have a water bottle. Of course, you should always have a water bottle. But I come with a multitude of things in my backpack. And I always do carry a backpack. If you're an amputee and you want to be out and about, I suggest always having a backpack. My backpack goes with me, not just for hiking. It goes in my car everywhere I go. Sometimes, depending on the day I'm having, I will take it into where I'm going. If I'm going to a restaurant or if I don't know, wherever, it goes with me. My backpack that I carry is 10 pounds of utility stuff. I have Allen wrenches, I have regular wrenches, I have WD-40, I have those can sprays of air like you use for your computer, just in case I get something in my joint. You don't want to get some dust or junk, and we have haboobs here, which are big, huge dust storms. God forbid I'm out and I get dust and stuff shoved up into my joint. So I have stuff to spray it out. I have an extra bag in my bag, a bag in my bag, but to put my leg back on in case it needs to come off, if there's a pinch, a rub, a problem, and I have to take it off. I need my bag always with me so that I can put it back on, because it's the only way I can put my leg back on. I have a charging cord because, true, it has happened. I forgot to plug my leg in one night. I was up all night this last football season doing something for the football moms for senior night. Had my leg on all night long, never went to bed, stayed up, got breakfast, got going the next day, got to the game, Friday night game, and at halftime, I heard my leg power down. True story, halftime. Now, I do photography for the kids on the team, so I'm always moving. So here's what happens with an electronic leg. It acts like your power steering on your car has gone out. I didn't know. I'd never had it die on me. Once before it did. But this was the first time publicly I was doing something and it died. Never even gave it a thought that I didn't plug it in and it needed to be plugged in. So what ends up happening is I can't bend my leg anymore. So now I look like a pirate. I'm peg legging it everywhere. Even though I have a beautiful, nice leg and everybody can see it's electronic, I couldn't get it to bend. So if you can visualize your power steering in your car going, that's what happens when my leg dies. I cannot bend it. Like power steering of a car, you could have a hard time, muscling turning your steering wheel. I can't even do that. If I took my leg off, I could bend it, but it would take muscle to bend it. When you're walking, your hip flexors, they don't have that kind of strength. And without a knee, I can't bend my knee. So that actually did happen. So I always keep a power cord with me. And what ended up happening that night is I got through the game, which was horrible because my son was a senior and I was trying to get onto the middle of the field to do their senior final walk across the field. And I was literally in front of all those people peg legging to the halfway point and trying to get pictures without tripping and falling on my face. It's quite humbling, I have to tell you. So what ended up happening is after that game, we all went back and the kids had just a gathering at someone's house. I literally took my cord, because I had it with me in my car, plugged it into my girlfriend's outlet, plugged my leg in, and I had to sit there and wait for it to charge because you can't move with it while it's plugged in. So I got 20% charge so that I could get home that night. So that's always fun. So you need to have a charging cord. If you have an electronic leg, you need to have a charging cord with you. Now, I say this that I'm an above knee amputee because below knees don't have this problem. They don't have they're not electric. They have their knee. They don't need an electric plug-in. I don't think any ankles are electric. I think they're all just manual. And so above knees are the ones that have the charging cords and have to carry that extra baggage with them where they go. When I travel, I have to remember all these things because God forbid I get someplace and I forget it. Prime example, the only other time that my leg died, we went to Kauai for the first time as an amputee. And you learn by your mistakes, right? Get to Kauai, we're in Arizona, we get to Kauai, unpack everything. I don't have my charging cord. On a small island for a week. I was like, oh my gosh. It's a good thing I met people through social media because I knew someone that knew someone on Maui that knew, was a prosthetist that could get literally overnight to an island from the East Coast to the islands, overnighted a charging cord. I had to wait 2 days. I did have a couple days where I did not have it because by the time I made all the connections and then we made the order, it was a couple days in. So luckily I had another leg. It was supposed to be a beach leg that was hydraulic that I was able to wear. I got really good at manipulating that one because I had to. But that was frightening not to have it. So now my checklists are very extensive and I recheck and I double check and I triple check when I get, before I get on a plane. So that when I go hiking, those things are with me. The only thing that I can tell you is when I have my bag with me and I've got like towels in there too. And, I mean, there's tons of stuff besides my water bottle. The towels come in handy. And I asked my prosthetist, what he does when he's playing basketball and stuff and sweating. He goes, oh, there's times it's fallen off. And I'm like, seriously? And he's at above knee. And he said, sometimes I just have to sit down really quick or pull it off, wipe it out, get the sweat out, wipe my leg off and put it back on and jump back out on the court. So that's how we kind of handle sweat when you're skin fit. There's not many other options. You don't want to put stuff on. And people have said there are like kind of deodorants like you'd use, like underarm deodorants for that type of situation. But my biggest fear is cutting off pores that are supposed to do that, creating maybe an infection or plugging pores that might actually like get an infection or swell or become red bumps or something and cause issues, rashes and things. So I try to just stay natural. I don't want any chemicals or anything that's blocking nature's course. So far so good, knock on wood. I really haven't any problems with that. Now, I've gone through my whole day. Things are normal. I've never really had to take it off. I've had to readjust. I've never given up and taken my leg off. My leg literally stays on from about 6 a.m. until, depending on when I go to bed, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So that's how you get used to it. Some people can barely stand it for an hour or two. Of course, that's how I started, but I pushed through. And if I didn't like the way it felt, instead of taking it off and giving up for the day, because I don't want to use crutches, I would just sit and give myself a break. So if you're in that situation, I would highly suggest, unless you have underlying circumstances that are prohibiting you from keeping it on, like an infection or a really bad sore, you know what? Sit down and take a load off for a little bit. Give your body a little bit of a rest before you resume, but that's how, the only way you're going to get used to wearing it is elongating every day, how long you're wearing it, till it just becomes a way of life. Now, the end of my day, as I'm wrapping this up because we are at 29 minutes, the end of the day is tricky because I have to I'm dictated by this because of my lack of wanting to take my leg off and on during the day. If I'm going to work out during the day, then I am going to be stinky sweaty the rest of the day because I do not want to take off my leg, take a shower, and do the whole process again. Call me lazy, but life is already hard enough. I just don't want to do it. So my showers come at the end of the day, and I have a routine so that it works. And at the end of the day, when I take my leg off, I have what I'm going to wear for after my shower. I have my towel in place. What's crazy is the shower that we have now is extremely big and like really big. I have 2 different seats, one at the entryway and one in there in case I need it. I don't use entryway for anything. I've gotten really good at balance, but I do have to take my leg off, plug it in. I spray it down with with rubbing alcohol and water every night so that it kind of kills any bacteria in it, plug it in and set it aside. Grab my crutches, go back into my closet where there's no windows, and that's where I get myself ready for my shower, and then I slip over to the shower. I have to step up about, I don't know, a couple inches up into the first shower section where there's one seat. And that's where surprisingly enough, that's where I put my crutches. And then I have to do about 3 hops in, down another smaller ledge, 3 hops in, turn on the water, wait for it to warm up because I do not like getting hit with cold water. And then carefully, because now the shower is wet, hop in about 4 or 5 more steps to get to where my shower heads are and my wood stool if I need it. I've come to find out that I don't mind standing in the shower. The only time I have to balance myself with my elbow on the wall is when I'm doing shampoo with my hair, because once I close my eyes, of course, if you've ever stood on one leg and close your eyes, you have no balance, right? You've lost your equilibrium. So that's the only time, is when I'm shampooing and conditioning my hair and when I'm drying my hair at the end of the shower. Those are the 2 times where I'm leaning against a wall. Otherwise, I've gotten really good at standing, shampoo, washing off and scrubbing up, and then I sit to get my legs and to shave. And then I stand up and I get rinsed off and everything. And then the tricky part comes. I cannot hop out because now everything is wet over there. I actually shimmy heel toe, heel toe, heel toe over to my towel, dry off, grab my crutches, hop up, dry off the rest of my legs, and then I go in and get my clothes on. That routine there took me a good month to get better at after moving here. It was exhaustive. Like, I didn't know where I wanted the shower chair. I didn't know if I wanted the shower chair. I didn't know. We have several different shower heads. Where do I want to be? Where do we need the shampoo? Where can I get this so I can reach my razor? Where can I, it was crazy. And my husband just hated seeing me hop because hopping is just not good on the one leg I do have left. And God forbid hopping in a shower where it's wet. We don't need to fall and hit my head on metal or any of the stone wall or the glass. So it was interesting, and it's actually quite exhaustive. By the time I'm done with all that, I am so ready to lay down. That is the end of the day, and I've already exhausted myself all day by working out and doing my thing and just lugging a leg around. And then to end with like a marathon of events is just a lot. And it all those little things you don't even think about, the nuances. Like, it is really, really hard to figure out how to jump up and get up with crutches and get down into a shower and then over into a shower and then out of the shower. And, there's just a lot of little things that people don't think about. And then the final thing is when I get to bed, I have crutches. And so the other thing I had to deal with was I had figured out how to crutch in the middle of the night in the dark in our old house to the bathroom. And I'm a proponent of drinking a ton of water, okay? Our body needs it. I live in a very hot area. We dehydrate real quickly, and our organs really just need that lubrication all the time. So I drink like a gallon of water a day. That does not help me at night. There are times where I'm up 2 times a night, 3 times a night going to the bathroom, and the walk is just trying to get through and get your eyes adjusted to the dark and everything is quite it's quite an event. So those are just some of the things that's how my day can run. It really only wraps around the morning and the evening. Those are the usual the junctions, the points that are really hard for me. And so that's, just a little glimpse into what it's like to be an amputee, to deal with some of the things I didn't even touch on, and really I could. One of the other things that we started talking about yesterday in the interview was the fact that weight gain or weight loss. When I used to have a liner on, how they dealt with changes in your body weight or your residual limb, because the first couple of years, your limb actually is changing. One, your muscles are totally atrophying. Like I have nothing to my limb. You'll see some people that are on like social media, and you'll see the difference in their leg size and their socket size is very extreme because it just goes down to nothing, right? I have excess skin because I actually was about 50 pounds heavier before my surgery. And so I lost all that weight, and so now I have all that excess skin and I'm atrophying. So I have a lot of excess skin, and things fluctuate. So when you have a liner, you usually have a liner at least for the first couple of years before you can go to skin fit, because you're fluctuating. Weight-wise is fluctuating until you get used to what your new routines are going to be, and you're burning a lot of calories trying to manipulate a leg. But then you also, your residual limb is changing, your muscle tissue is changing and all that. When it changes, they have things called socks that you put on over your liner. And you put on a 2-ply sock, a 3-ply sock, a 5-ply sock. 5-ply is real thick. And then once you get so many socks, then they put in an order with the insurance company saying, listen, she is not fit anymore. She's got 15-ply on. At one point in time, I had 18-ply. So it's like 3 5-ply socks and a 3-ply over the liner to get the difference between the weight change that I had lost, just so that my socket would stay on and tight. Well, I'm skin fit now. Think of it as a corset. You know, picture those ladies that are holding on to, I always think of Pirates of the Caribbean, where she's being pulled and the lady's tying her up and she's can't even breathe. That's my socket. The problem is if I gain any weight or lose any weight, it doesn't fit right. So it is kind of like a diet in itself. I weigh myself pretty much every day to see where I'm at before I go to put it on. And then I pray that once I get to a certain weight, because maybe last night I had too much salt in my diet or whatever, you can have water weight gain, and that's horrible. Your socket is too tight. It hurts trying to put it on. You won't get it all the way in, and then swelling occurs throughout the day because it's not in all the way. So it's kind of, gravity is working and you're beating up on the bottom of your residual limb and the base of your socket, and it swells. It becomes like hard as a rock. It's really weird. It's a little frightening actually too, because it's just not what you're expecting to feel when you take your socket off at night. But you know, if you lose weight, same thing. If it's too loose, a skin fit is not going to fit, and there's nothing I can do to actually get it to stay on. So it slowly starts to get looser, and it becomes harder to work. It's really interesting. When it fits well, it feels like it's a part of your body, and it's amazing. But if it starts to loosen on you, you find yourself doing certain things to keep it on, like trying to tighten up your leg or walking a little differently by swinging your hip a different way, which is then not good for your hips, your back, and things start to get weird. So then you go in and you get new measurements. He asks what your weight is, and then he has to put all that quantitative materials and numbers to the insurance company to prove that I need a new socket so that they'll pay for it. So it is quite a journey right now with weight and everything, because I went down really, really low, almost too low. As my son told me the other day, I didn't look normal. It was too thin. So now I'm back to a healthy weight, but it's a little bit more than my socket was really capable of handling. So I'm not fitting in great. So we're getting ready to recast me, and I'll have to do a video of that for you so you can see. But my recasting will be happening hopefully either at the end of this week or next week. So I'm just waiting on the materials to come in so we can go do that. So those are some basic things that anybody with a limb loss deals with, especially an above knee. To wrap this up, what I would tell you is, with Limb Loss Awareness Month coming up in April, you know, I always try to end my podcast with a call to action. And I would just put out a plea that this call to action this time, maybe twofold. If you're interested, let's say you're not an amputee, but you're interested in this whole situation. Find somebody, get to know somebody, reach out to somebody that has gone through it, is going through it, or is about to go through it. Share my journey with them if you don't know anything else. Share my posts with them, share my podcast with them, have them reach out to me, but be there for them. Have the empathy or the sympathy, because you probably can't empathize, but sympathy with them for where they're at and what they're going through, and just be there for them. Be a listener, be understanding that, I can show you the best of my life, and I feel like I'm very well adjusted, and I love where I'm at, and I don't even look back and don't wish anything else on me. I'm very happy and content where I'm at. That's why I'm sharing my journey. But that does not mean it is without problems, struggles, pain, tears, anxiety, fear for the future. My dogs are in the back. Yeah, there's my dog. You can see my dogs. They're messing around back there. It doesn't mean that we don't have those. I try to show you what I can do, but I also try to be transparent on when I'm struggling. Not for sympathy or anything else, but just to show the reality of it, that it's not always as easy as it appears to be. When I get up and I move around and I walk and I do those things, it is not without a bunch of grit and deep down passion and wanting to be a perfectionist. I've had to build this character. I've had to forge it through pain and suffering and anxiety and fears. So it isn't always what it appears to be. I've had to work very hard to be able to be at a point where I could share with you, to be vulnerable, to share the hardships, and to be vulnerable enough to share when I suck at something or when something is where I want to be. I mean, I want to be the best at everything I do, but it isn't always that way. The other thing you can do is to reach out to companies nonprofits that actually help people that are struggling with limb loss, because it's a hard enough battle to go through losing your limb. They say you go through all the same steps as someone who has lost someone that they love. So it's like losing your best friend. It's like losing a family member when you lose your limb. It's tragic. There's denial, there's anger, there's fear, we go through all of it, acceptance. We do. And we're all at different stages depending on the day and depending on how long we've been an amputee. There are people, and I was actually one of them, thank goodness, for only a month. But there are people that not only are dealing with that part, but then you involve insurance and denials for parts to make you feel like you're a normal person again, is so real and so staggering to me that it is the hardest thing to lose your limb, something you've only known for your whole life, for those of us that, either elected to lose it or have lost it in a different way, not born with the difference. But when you know what it's like to have two legs and then you have to deal with losing your leg, the last thing you want to do is fight someone for a leg to stand on. I had 4 weeks of fighting with my insurance company. May not seem like a long time, but when you are living every moment on crutches and you wake up every morning and realize you still don't have a leg and you still don't have an answer, and you know that you're going to have to get on the phone call with an insurance company and wait and wait and wait and try to convince and try to tell them that you're not a number, that you're a person, that you are a mom, that you're a wife, that you're a whatever, and you're struggling to make ends meet because you're on crutches and you have no hand usage because you're on crutches. Every day is painstakingly long, every hour, every moment. And so if you want to make a difference in someone's life, there are people in the United States, definitely, but there is a company that I've worked closely with for the last couple of years called Range of Motion Project Global, or ROMP, ROMP Global. And they are amazing people. They are selfless. They give. They're always trying to fundraise to get the money. They look to people to donate parts from their old limbs, from prosthetists who have parts laying around that they're not using anymore, to create. And there's several prosthetists that work with this company, and then volunteers that go to underprivileged areas to create limbs so that people can walk again. Or, and most of it is below on the lower limbs. They do, I think, some upper limb, but because my focus is always below on the legs, that's what I see all the time. And then it gives them the freedom, these people, the freedom to move around again, to feel somewhat normal again. So if you feel so inclined, in April, reaching out to Romp Global, or there's several other nonprofit for limb loss, and give to those people, you are going to make a huge difference in someone's life. I mean, huge. Me getting my leg was like I had won the golden ticket for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like, it was the most amazing thing in the world to be able to put that on and to walk again. I had spent 5-6 years not being able to really walk because of pain and scar tissue. I had no range of motion. I was limping because I couldn't even straighten my leg. So my left leg was shorter than my right leg. And to be able to master this and finally walk, the freedom that I have and the independence I feel is a gift like no other. So my challenge to you, my call to action would be is to reach out to someone going through this and be an ear, a shoulder for them. Also, if you feel like you want to do more, give to them. Give to nonprofits that actually show 100% of the money goes at Romp Global, 100% of the money goes to prosthetics. All of it goes to prosthetics. And so, and they're amazing. And if you want, like, a lot of times they'll do competitions and stuff. I do something every year, I think, with Romp, where I get to get out and I fundraise, but I also am doing something active. Like I'm hiking, I'm climbing my mountain is what they call it. We still climb. I climb my mountain to raise awareness for limb difference and limb loss. And with that, I get physically fit. I show the people, the amputees, that we can still do these types of things, and I raise money at the same time. So you can get involved. They even had situations where you could go to these places and volunteer your time to help prosthetists fit and help these people get moving again. So you have opportunities to even go and do this work, which is totally incredible. If you are an amputee, I suggest that you actually get out and do that. The best medicine for you, if you're struggling, is to help somebody else. It really does help. I call it my distraction method. I use it all the time. If I'm not thinking about myself, then I'm not worried about myself, right? I'm not thinking about the pain. I'm not thinking about the phantom pain, phantom sensations. I'm not thinking about the way that everything's fitting. I'm just doing something for somebody else, which then makes me feel great about myself internally, which then floods my body, and then I feel good about me physically. So I can't stress enough, when you are out there reaching out to others, what that can do for your own benefit. Like, you will totally benefit, I promise you. When you give, it comes back tenfold. It really does. So amputees, if you're struggling, get out there. Get out there and be the light that somebody else needs. You can help no matter where you are at in your journey. If you're at the very beginning and struggling, you still have value to those that are thinking about amputation, in the hospital right now, going through amputation. Be that light, be the voice for those people so they can see the stages of recovery and that it is possible to recover and still do good in this world. So we have a lot of power to bestow on people, to empower them to live a better life and to love the life that they have been given. We don't have to dread that we're here. And yeah, it is a hard road, but we were chosen for that path for a reason. Are you going to pick up your sword and march forward and be that warrior? Or are you going to sit back and be a victim? Because you can be one or the other. You can choose that. That's your choice. I choose to be a warrior. I want to be out there. I want to be the voice of reason, the voice of positivity, of the you can do it kind of mentality. And I know you can too, no matter where you're at in your journey. You know, I'm only 3 years in, and I'm hoping in 20 years I can still be that reason, and I can still remember what it was like to be at 3 years. And I can talk to those people and I can still relate. Because if I'm transparent and real, then I have something that I can give that's of value to someone, somewhere, at some stage in their life. Even if it's one person, that's all I say. I just need to make a difference in one person's life. And then that is me fulfilling my purpose here. So keep in mind, April 1st starts Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. That the next 4 weeks, I have some amazing guests coming on. Please be listening. Please share. I'm so excited. I'm nervous and anxious to interview some of these people. There are things that I'm aspiring to, that I'm excited about. They are go-getters. They're warriors. They have a love for life. They are not looking back. They have been empowered. They're living a dream. It's some incredible people coming. I want you to make sure you don't miss. So make sure that you subscribe. Subscribe so that when I do get those posted the next few Wednesdays in a row, that you don't miss one of those. So you know that. You know how I end this. As always, be healthy, be happy, be you.